Welcome into the Scoop. I'm your host, Ross Martin, joined by Don Callahan. This is Inside Carolina's The Scoop podcast, the premier UNC football recruiting podcast. Got a big show. Don, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much. Those who are regular watchers might notice that my screen's a little bit different. Had to use a laptop. Desktop wasn't working right now. But yeah, not much. Just enjoying the dead period a little bit. Ross is definitely enjoying the dead period. Where are you at, Ross?
I'm at the beach right now. I'm at Holden Beach on a little family trip for a couple days. But we're still bringing you the podcast here in Inside Carolina. Watch on YouTube, guys. YouTube was youtube.com/Inside Carolina. Subscribe there. We're doing a lot more YouTube and video content as we bring on a guy whose role is going to be to develop our YouTube page. And remember to rate, review, subscribe. Wherever you listen to your Inside Carolina podcast. Don?
Do you think that we will ever do like a live sort of scoop podcast like that? Not like what we do for the signing day, but like this, but live on YouTube for the watchers.
I think it's definitely a possibility. We're bringing in someone who's going to help out with that a lot, and I think I work well with him, and we know him well, so it'll be the opportunity to expand that maybe for like a big commitment or something like that, or some signing day deal. So we're sitting here was July 13th, and we took like about 2 weeks off, and during that time, I guess only really a week off, and during that July 4th weekend, UNC had 5 commitments. UNC now sits at, I think, 14 commitments. Is that right, Don?
I think so.
Pulling up now, yeah.
I know it's like 13, 14. You can kind of lose count after a while.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here. So UNC has 14 commitments. They added 5 commitments in 4 days, and I believe it was 8 commitments over the course of a week. Monday to Monday, I think they landed 8 commitments. So they got things rolling before the dead period, taking advantage of that official visit weekend and filling a lot of holes. I know I did a little interview with Don. We went on some written content about how they pretty much have a commitment now for every position of need. So now it's kind of picking who they want to fill. If they need another lineman, another wide receiver, another cornerback or safety, that's kind of what they're going to be focusing on as they close out this class. Don, your general thoughts on where the class
can I give
sits?
a selfless plug right here?
Yeah, go ahead.
The weekly scoop that was posted just after that that final weekend of June was a mock class, and its hit rate is pretty high. It did miss on a guy, Caden Smith, but that was, in my defense, didn't have a lot of great options for the offensive line to kind of throw in there. But beyond that, all these guys that committed were on there, and I'm feeling really good about the mock class's success going forward. So if you aren't a subscriber, don't go on, the weekly scoop. Don't check it out every week. You need to, because you'll know these things ahead of time.
Yeah, so Don's weekly scoop mock class has been hitting. Why do you think you've had such success in that mock class? Seriously, is there something about the class or just something you
I think, ultimately you start to kind of see how things are going with recruits. June is now such a decisive month as far as, what schools, recruits are officially visiting, because all these recruits, a lot of these recruits have 20, 30, 40 scholarship offers, but in reality, there's only like a handful of schools that they could really choose from or that they're really interested in. And through official visits and through other visits, you can kind of see who truly is involved with these recruitments. So once you kind of have the pool narrowed down, you get an idea. And in some of these instances, a kid took 1 or 2 official visits and it's pretty obvious what they're going to do. So I'm not like this, I can, profit or anything like that. I'm just doing a good job of watching what they're doing and predicting from there. And I still don't even bat 1,000. So
there you go. So modest. Coming off your staff review, it's a big day in the Don Callahan household, drinking his coffee there. What was I going to say about that? Oh, and also, I don't know if this plays a role, but UNC's not going after the, not in it for some of the really, really big time recruits. So that could affect, you see a 3-star they've got, they really like, the 3-star would commit to UNC. UNC's focusing on him. So maybe that kind of changes, how you prioritize who you pick for that mock class.
Well, just to kind of piggyback on what you just said, and this kind of segues into, I don't know if you've mentioned on the podcast yet, but our guest, hopefully,
Oh yeah.
Jamaal Jarrett, big time guy, 4-star guy, highly ranked guy. You can go check in the mock class to see if he's in there or not. But a guy like him, it's a lot harder to decipher just where he's leaning because he is a higher profile guy. Georgia's involved, North Carolina's involved, Auburn's involved. It's probably going to come down to UGA and UNC. But yeah, no, those guys, those recruitments are much harder to predict than say the 3-star that's down to North Carolina, West Virginia, Maryland.
Yeah, exactly. Great segue. We are going to bring on Jamaal Jarrett at the end of this podcast. We have not recorded the interview yet. We're recording this on July 13th. Wednesday, July 13th. You should get it. You should be listening to this on Thursday, July 14th, and we're going to record Jamaal Jarrett shortly after we do our part. UNC defensive line target, 6'6", 350 from Grigsby High School in Greensboro. Big time 4-star guy, 176 in the nation, 26 ranked defensive lineman, and of course was teammates and classmates with current UNC freshman defensive tackle Travis Shaw. So Jamaal Jarrett coming up at the end of this podcast. We'll do a good 15-20 minutes with him. It'll be our first, I think it's our first non-committed interview with a prospect. So he is not committed, like Don said. Georgia, North Carolina.
He's committing next week,
Auburn.
next Tuesday.
So this is kind of crazy. You'll get a preview of what his thoughts are, and we're gonna have to kind of ask questions in a way that you can maybe read through the details. Now, Don, as we talk about him, he's coming on an Inside Carolina podcast a week before he commits. Is that a clue to anything or anything?
No, I don't want anyone to think that because it's not. Yeah. I mean, I think it's two things. One, he realized that another Grimsley product is on this podcast, so that was an easy sell for him.
You tell him that?
I did. I said, hey, you can't turn your back on a fellow Whirly, right?
There you go.
The other thing is I've had a great relationship with him since the jump, and wherever he goes, from a personal standpoint, as long as he's happy, that's all I care about. And so this is just more of like, hey, he wants to hype up his announcement, and this is kind of equivalent to when like a celebrity comes out with a book and they go on a book tour sort of thing. That's what this is more like than anything else. Yeah.
He's trying to get as many eyeballs as he can. He's starting to build his brand now.
If you go on his Twitter account, I mean, he's doing countdowns. He's doing which fan base can get me, the most follows, and he'll throw a picture of him in Georgia gear. Then an hour later, him in UNC gear. So he's having a lot of fun with it. Yeah, really enjoying the process. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, I mean, this is a once in a lifetime thing, so you might as well enjoy it. Good life motto there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I pulled the class here. Sorry I wasn't prepared for that, but UNC has 14 commitments. They're ranked 24 in the nation. That's gone down a little bit since the July 4th weekend.
Because I think they were like 19, 20 at one point.
Yeah, I think they were at 19, so they're at 24 now. Don, do you know where they want to be number-wise? Can you say that?
They want to be one. Or you talking about size-wise?
Sorry, size. They have 14 right now.
Yeah, so as you know, I don't like talking about too much, but I think it's hard to kind of pin down because of the transfer portal. You have to leave some space in there. So I think we're looking at something definitely between 20, 25. So, maybe like 23-ish, but it really could go definitely over 20, probably 23-ish is probably a good number.
Okay, great. Well, let's get into it, Don. They had 5 commitments in 4 days. It started with Jabron Harvey, defensive lineman. It then went Robert Grigsby on that Friday, inside interior offensive lineman. Then wide receiver Christian Hamilton. You were there for that commitment. And then on, I believe it was Saturday, DJ Geth, an interior offensive lineman from South Carolina. And then on July 4th, that Monday, it was 4-star wide receiver Chris Culver. That's what UNC got to move to 14 commitments and really boost their not only ranking, but kind of fill a lot of holes. And now it's pretty clear kind of the main targets to fill out this class. Let's start with Jabron Harvey. We'll do a couple, then we'll take a break for a commercial. and come back to close out with the remaining guys and give an overview of the class. Sound good?
Well, can I skip to one? Because I want to get your take on something.
You want to skip to what?
I'll skip to one of them.
Sure.
Can I skip to Christian Hamilton?
Well, we're going to get to him
Did
third.
Well, I want to get your take.
Okay.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
All right, we'll do Christian Hamilton first. All right, let me pull him up here.
Yeah, go to break, and then I have some questions for you on that. Go ahead. Not non-recruiting. Don't get crazy, but go ahead.
Wait. You want me to take a break now?
Oh, I thought you were taking. We're not taking a break. Then let's go.
Yeah. All right, let's start with Christian Hamilton, committed to UNC on that Friday. 6 foot, 175 from Hickory Ridge High School in Harrisburg, North Carolina. 210 in the nation, 30th wide receiver, 8th ranked player in the state of North Carolina. Don, you're at his commitment ceremony in Hickory Ridge High School. Tell us about the ceremony. Tell us what it was like, and then especially, I mean, we know he's committed now. What is he going to bring to UNC? And I can ask that after you break it down.
So, did you see the video?
Yes, I wrote an article about it.
Oh, okay, good. So I want to know your thoughts on that video.
We talked about this a little bit already, right?
Not on the podcast.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, I was away. I was traveling, so I didn't really watch the ceremony. I just did the.
Do you want me to kind of get the play-by-play? I mean, it's not.
Well, I'll preview it. Yeah. So Christian Hamilton everything was set up, and if you've been to these ceremonies, they're in the library in some big room, and he had his parents on either side of him. He had his coach in the view of the camera. Don was filming it, I'm assuming, and he unzipped his pullovers, committing. He had the microphone or whatever. Unzipped his pullover, and it was a Clemson shirt. Everybody cheered, and then a Clemson hat. So this is 4 or 5 seconds. And he waited. His parents were looking at him, surprised. His coach was confused. His dad was very, very surprised and shocked. And then he threw down the Clemson hat and pulled off the Clemson shirt and revealed a navy blue UNC shirt. And then his mom took off her pullover and revealed a Carolina shirt. And he committed to Carolina. So, yeah, a really good job of confusing everybody, including Don, I believe. Or I don't know if you knew, but including his parents, which is very surprising. Don, you were there to tell us what happened.
Yeah, so his dad, you can actually hear his voice on the mic.
Yeah.
I think someone thought that might have been me, but no, the mic was up on the table.
He's like, he's like, you got me good. That was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a good one. That was a good one.
You also, if you watch the mom, she goes to unzip as he's unzipping the first time, and then she's like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
And so she kind of just freezes. Jupiter Wilson, who played at North Carolina, his head coach, he is kind of like, he's clapping because he wants to be supportive, but he's like, this is not what I expected. So he said he didn't know. I didn't ask his parents, but I mean, it was clear to me that they didn't know. When I'm filming.
And you didn't know either, right?
I didn't know he was going to do that.
Yeah.
So so I was under the impression he was going to pick North Carolina. So, and I went back and watched it, and it felt definitely longer than what it was. Because I'm thinking in my head, because Christian, and I said this beforehand, he can go against the grain. And that's what kind of, he wasn't listed, I don't think, in 1 or 2 of my mock classes, because I kind of felt like he likes to do things differently. So it's like, man, is he pulling something out on this? But then when he changed his shirt, but my question more for you, well, anyway, so finish my thought. So there was a little bit of like, okay, not that it would matter to me either way, because I'm covering it, as a journalist or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing that popped in my mind was the Dalen Everett stuff, which you and I talked about on the podcast, and how a lot of posters got on Dalen Everett and thought there was some sort of, conspiracy and some sort of fight between him and Dre Bly and yada, yada. And that's why he did it in spite of North Carolina, even though that wasn't how it was. And I asked Christian and his coach, like, what was behind this? And Christian was like, everyone thought I was going to Clemson. I just want to throw kind of a curveball, make it a bit of a surprise. And that's really what comes down to. I mean, a lot of kids have done this. Him and Everett weren't the first ones to do this. A lot of kids have picked up other hats, thrown them aside, all this sort of stuff, which is what I was trying to explain during the Everett stuff. But what I was most curious about was the fan reaction, because Everett took a lot of heat from UNC fans. They attacked his dad on Twitter and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what I think is crazy is that, was he even a take for Clemson? Like, Clemson didn't want him. So it's kind of jokes on you, kind of.
Yeah. So there was that too, because I was under the impression that I don't, if he would have picked Clemson, I don't know what would have happened. because from my understanding, Clemson at least backed off, though Jupiter Wilson did tell me that Clemson had been in contact with him leading up to it, where, it was, he said he only had talked to Clemson, North Carolina leading up to the announcement.
Okay.
So,
yeah. All right. I mean, it was funny. I mean, it was funny if you don't, I mean, look, it's college football. Who cares? Like you piss off some fan bases. I mean, that's college football. So, we need to talk about conference realignment too at the end of this podcast.
Okay.
We have to. Okay. Christian Hamilton. All right. Committed to UNC. He was the first wide receiver to commit to UNC. What is he going to bring to the Tar Heels?
Yeah. So he's a guy who's primarily a slot receiver, but he has the ability to play outside if you need to. And he even has the ability to play defensive back if receiver doesn't work out for him. I think the thing with him is that his coach kind of talked about this in the story I did earlier in the week, just about how he's willing to do the dirty things. One of the things that pops out in my mind is, I don't know why you took that different.
I mean, why you said he likes to do dirty things?
Anyway, I know this is 717, but Hickory Ridge played against Roseville High School in 707, North Carolina. Roseville ended up winning it all, but the one game that they lost was against Hickory Ridge, and I believe the primary reason they lost that game was because Christian Hamilton decided to play cornerback and match up against Noah Rogers and did an unbelievable job. It's just that mentality, like, let's help the team. Helping the team means stopping Noah Rogers. Put that on me. Don't put it on someone else. I want to take care of that. That's the sort of mentality that I think is the best attribute that Christian Hamilton brings.
And you think, we talk about this, we do these little breakout videos we've been doing, 6 foot, 175. You think he's an interior kind of slot guy, but he's big enough he could play outside.
Yeah, so that's what I think the thing is he's a slot guy. But yes, I mean, in certain sets, or I mean, if someone else emerges as a great slot guy after Josh Downs leaves, and you still want to get Christian Hamilton on the field, he is the guy who could play outside. Yeah.
All right, great in-state wide receiver. Christian Hamilton has committed to the Tar Heels. All right, J. Brown Harvey, an edge rusher, 6'3", 215 from Southern High School in Durham, North Carolina, ranked 189 in the nation, 25th ranked edge rusher, number 6 player in North Carolina. We talked about him a little bit. His class is so weird, though. But he's visited UNC all through his recruitment. It seemed pretty much like this was UNC, like Durham. Look, it's less than a 25-minute drive from where he lives, probably to Kenan Stadium. Don, we didn't. His recruitment seemed so focused on UNC. So let's just talk about what he's going to bring to the Tar Heels. I know you think and he has proven he's a sack master and loves getting in the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, his sack numbers, his tackles for loss numbers that he put up last season as high school were so impressive that many people wondered if they were inflated. But just pulling up his film and just throwing it on, you can see, I mean, he's constantly getting to the quarterback, constantly making tackles behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, and this is a guy who has a basketball background, but has added the weight already and has developed into a great pass rusher. And, he's through the last couple of years has slowly started to focus more and more on football. And that obviously resulted in a breakout season last season. And his coach believes he's going to improve even more this coming season.
Yeah, and he's going to play Jack, right?
Yeah. So he's that Jack guy.
So he's 6'3", 215. And for those who don't know, and this is a new position, and we're still kind of learning about it too, the Jack is, so they have a nose tackle, 3 technique, an edge, and then a Jack. And they kind of all line up on the defensive line. The Jack can maybe step into coverage a little bit, but based on what we talked about with Chris Collins and Noah Taylor. Yeah,
Noah Taylor.
It is get after the quarterback. That is the Jack's job. It's coached by Gene Chizik. So this is a pure pass rushing. Is going to be a little leaner than a defensive end, a little bit leaner than like a Des Evans. Can maybe be a little bit quicker, but like a Malachi Hamrick, I think it's going to be a Jack. You think about a guy like Malik Carney probably would have been a Jack. It's a pure pass rushing guy. So that's what J. Brown Harvey is going to be. All right.
Sounds good. You did a great job, Ross.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to be right. We got team coverage here in a couple of weeks, so we got to gear up for the football season. It's no more playtime, no more vacation. All right, Don?
No more playtime.
All right. And then also on that Friday, Robert Grigsby committed to the Tar Heels, an interior offensive lineman. 24/7 Sports switched up the things now where we have edge rushers, we have
I love
offensive
it.
tackles, and then we have interior offensive linemen, which covers guards and centers. That's how they do the rankings now. 6'3.5", 310 from North Cobb High School in Kennesaw, Georgia. He's a mid to low 3-star, 756 in the nation, number 51 ranked interior offensive lineman, and number 75 in Georgia. Don, the offensive line recruitment in this class is a little bit confusing because there's so many names. Now UNC has 3 commitments on the offensive line. What happened with Grigsby's recruitment briefly, and then we'll get to his game.
Yeah, so he visits North Carolina back in March for junior day. UNC had offered him shortly before that. He already had a trip scheduled to NC State, so it just made sense to package them together. Takes his officials in June, one in North Carolina, NC State, and Vanderbilt. North Carolina had that final official visit, which, as I've mentioned multiple times, beneficial for that school. After taking those 3 official visits, decided on North Carolina. A lot of it had to do with the business department. That's when he wants to major in, but also he has a great relationship with Jack McNeil.
Business school.
Business school, yes.
You said department so many times. Not a big deal. It's just kind of funny.
My bad. So, yeah.
That's all right. Cool. Grigsby. And then, so picked UNC for the reasons you stated. Anything special about what he's going to bring? Just he is 310. There's no issues here with him putting on weight. It's a matter of getting that weight, the right weight on.
Yeah. So I think the one interesting thing is that he has mentioned about, the center position, and that's always a topic that's brought up a lot because of just what North Carolina dealt with this past season at that position. And everyone graduates after this season at that position for the most part.
Well, they lose 2 definitely in Brian Anderson and Corey Gaynor, but they have Justin Konyuk playing center.
Center now. Okay. Yeah. So that's an option. He has some experience with it, but he's mostly been a tackle at his high school, which is very common, and why centers are so hard to find is that usually a high school typically plays their best offensive lineman at the tackle position, depending on their offense.
Yeah. Okay. Robert Grigsby is a Tar Heel. Let me close his little profile out. All right. And then we already talked about Christian Hamilton. He committed next on that Friday evening at 6, and Don was down there. And then Saturday, DJ Geth committed, another interior offensive lineman, 6'4", 300 from Dorman High School in Roebuck, South Carolina, ranked 975 in the nation, number 69 ranked interior offensive lineman, the number 15th player in the state of South Carolina. This was a South Carolina, North Carolina battle. His dad played basketball at UNC. He had some friends, and obviously being from the Palmetto State, some ties to the Gamecocks. Don, what happened here with his recruitment? Because it came kind of out of nowhere, because I know we didn't record a reaction video because I'm not sure we kind of, maybe you knew, but I don't know if we had enough time to prepare.
Yeah. So, I don't want to go behind the curtain too much, but but I mean, some of these other ones I had an idea well in advance. This one was one of the ones where, I found out maybe like 24 hours or so before. But I mean, that Friday before he announced was a pretty busy Friday, including me traveling to Charlotte and back. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, there were a lot of kids, and even most of the kids that week that committed. Those commitments weren't necessarily set well in advance. And we have guys like Braden Marshall who's set July 30th as an announcement. And so a lot of these kids, it's just a matter of when they felt right. And for DJ, he went back and forth between North Carolina and South Carolina, and he felt right about it. After a week after taking that final official visit to South Carolina, and just wanted to he's a no frills guy, typical offensive lineman, and just wanted to kind of get it over with. And that's what it came down to, after he decided. And
I was kind of thinking about this, and look, he has the friends at South Carolina that committed there, whatever. But if you have a chance to go to North Carolina, it's a significantly better university than South Carolina in terms of just the connections, in terms of the alumni base, in terms of the academic reputation. And so I don't know. I think people forget this, but it can be hard to get into. But if you have the opportunity to go to North Carolina, especially now when it's super hard to get into, you got to take it. It's one of the best public schools in the nation. So I think that can be a deciding factor that helps UNC a lot of times is the reputation of UNC as long as
Yeah.
the kids that are getting are smart enough and can get into the school. Which for football, I mean, it seems like I don't know how many times UNC's had trouble getting kids in. I know it happens occasionally, but not all the time.
Yeah, I think well, so if you've ever been in the football community in the state of South Carolina, there's definitely a very strong pull to go to either North Carolina or South Carolina. I feel like every time
you mean Clemson?
I mean Clemson or South Carolina. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like anytime I've gone to a game, and if it's not obvious who I am, I'm asked, "Are you a South Carolina or Clemson fan?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just the environment is very different than what it is in North Carolina. And so I can understand that pull. I think what helps him understand what you're saying is the fact that his dad and mom graduated from UNC. And so they're kind of living proof of what North Carolina can do for your life. And that makes it a lot easier for him because, you know, he has a teammate who can choose North Carolina or South Carolina, hasn't chosen yet. That's Marquis Anderson I'm talking about. And most people think he's going to pick South Carolina. And I don't think they're wrong.
There you go. All right. So DJ Gath, what kind of player? Anything else to know about him?
Yeah, I mean, he is a big offensive lineman. You know, he's another guy similar to Grigsby in the fact that he's an interior guy that UNC wants to try out at center. They mentioned center. I mean, both of them are not going to play center, but I think what you do is you bring in some center prospects and see who works, who doesn't, and then if you don't work at center, you play him at guard. And I think I misspoke earlier. I don't believe Grigsby has any game experience snapping, but DJ Geth does. And Geth has played all over the offensive line for Dorman High School, including center and snapping in games, which is significant. Gives him a little bit of an advantage over the other guys who are competing for that position.
Okay. And then Chris Culver, that's DJ Geth. DJ Geth. Chris Culver commits to UNC that following Monday, July 4th, wide receiver. This is a big one. You have a highly ranked kid, 6'3", 174, 4-star prospect, 315 in the nation, 42 ranked wide receiver, and number 12 ranked player in the state of North Carolina, made in high school. Don, you're a big Chris Culver fan. And what's going on? What went on with his recruitment? Now, the wide receivers were so confusing for a while there because there's like 6 names, 3 or 4 spots, NC State involved. You had Noah Taylor go to Ohio State. You had Christian Hamilton and Chris Culver now commit to UNC. Has State landed any of those guys they're going after?
That North Carolina's recruiting? No.
Like Concepcion
has not made his decision yet.
And who's the other guy?
I don't think there's no other receivers.
Okay.
Unless I'm forgetting someone.
Yeah, there's one
I mean, Culver listed NC State as a finalist, but NC State he didn't officially visit there. This came down to North Carolina and Virginia Tech. And then, Florida State was involved, Ohio State was involved early on, but he was a plan B for those programs. And once those schools filled up, he kind of, that helped North Carolina a whole lot with him. But I mean, ultimately, he mentioned that he made his decision during his official visit. I know it got a little scary for North Carolina because of, he took the official to Virginia Tech. His mom is from Blacksburg. I'm married to someone who grew up in the Blacksburg area, so I understand the pull there. So I imagine that was a little bit scary for North Carolina, but really his decision was made, and a week after taking that official visit to Virginia Tech, he was committing to their rivals, North Carolina.
Okay, and with Culver, what about UNC attracted him?
So I think, he mentioned a lot about the relationship he had with Lonnie Galloway. Galloway is probably UNC's best recruiter. He does a really good job of managing recruitments, which is very key with how North Carolina recruits.
What do you mean by that?
Because UNC doesn't offer a ton of guys.
Got it.
You look, and you're not going to get every single guy you offer. So you have to also, if you don't want to offer a ton of guys, you also have to recruit guys who aren't offered, almost like they've been offered, so that you don't fall behind for them if you miss on the guys you have ahead of them. And it's a delicate situation to kind of say, even though the elephant in the room is this guy is your plan B, but you kind of have to, fix that. So,
it's that this is a little
we're going down
off
a rabbit
topic,
hole.
but it is kind of like if you're, look, it is kind of like you're dating multiple women, right?
Oh my.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know, Don, you know about all this. He's choked
I'm
up.
no yeah, I'm just thinking about if my
but like,
wife
look, this is coaches use dating as an
analogy. Yeah, because there's a lot of parallels.
For recruiting, the same way you got text, got call, got DM, got some photos, got some graphics, videos,
different
visits.
photos you're sending though.
Yeah, that's right. Unofficial visits, official visits. But like when you're, like you said with Galloway, and how you maintain recruitments, you gotta maybe you have one that you really want, but if she doesn't pick you or he doesn't pick you, you've got to make sure there's a backup ready to go so that you're not lonely and you're not deprived of attention. So you gotta, this is not the best strategy, but if you are knowingly dating multiple people, you can keep others interested while focusing on one, and then have other ones for a visit, and then text and call everyone. So and the analogy there I think works great.
Yeah.
And for how managing recruitments and juggling multiple people that you have interest in them all, just maybe different levels of that.
Is this something that you have an expertise in?
No, I don't do that. I don't do any of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah.
Culver.
So he had a great relationship with Lonnie Galloway. Obviously, being at in-state school meant a lot to him. He just always seemed like that Carolina sort of guy. He visited a lot last summer, but that really dropped off after the summer, which kind of made people kind of wonder what was going on. But I guess he had a good grasp of what UNC was about last summer, and the official visit in June just kind of sealed it.
And what kind of player is he? What's he going to bring to Tar Heels? I know you're a big Culver fan.
Yeah, I'm a big Culver fan. I mean, he's a legit 6'3", long, rangy, great long speed. And he's just a gamer, I mean, I've mentioned this a bunch of times on the podcast, so I'm kind of being repetitive here, but I mean, he's a kid who has put Maiden on his back multiple games last season and helped them win, multiple touchdown games. He's going to have to do that a lot more this season because they lost their quarterback. So he's probably going to play a little quarterback, but I mean, he's going to be the player for Maiden. And you look at those guys, and I think of like a Mike Hughes sort of situation. If you remember back when he played at New Bern, guys who are just the team for their high school. I love those sort of guys. I think that transitioned really well to college, and you can easily find a role for that person. That's what Culver has, and he has the height and athleticism and the speed. He has legit track speed. So I mean, I think he's super underrated and he's a 4-star. But a lot of that is because of where he's located.
Yeah, you want your college commitments playing at a high Power 5 level to be dominant in high school. It's the same way for basketball. If you're recruiting a guy to play at Carolina, play at Duke, wherever, you want that kid taking over games, being the alpha, scoring points, dominating, being a leader. You don't want a guy getting lost on possessions. If you're recruiting an offensive lineman, defensive lineman to play at a Power 5 level, you want him sacking the quarterback, getting after the quarterback on every possession, or just being so dominant on the offensive line that you don't let anyone, they have to change their whole defensive plan to avoid you. I know Travis Shaw, when he played defensive line for Grimsley, he kind of eliminated half of the field for the offense because of how dominant he was he played a lot of end. And so he kind of controlled that whole area. So that when you talk about a player being like a Mike Hughes or like Chris Culver, being dominant in the game and making an impact on every possession.
Well said.
Thank you.
Well said.
Not the first time I've heard that.
That wraps it up for us, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. So we have the Jamaal Jarrett interview coming up. Let's get a quick overview of this class. Wide receiver, so they're citing 14 commitments. What's going to happen? What is the next time players can visit? All that stuff. What's going on right now with the coaches? Because I think they're on vacation now, or they were on vacation, and then they come back. Training camp starts July 28th or 29th, I believe, players. So that's when we'll be back on campus. What's going on recruiting-wise for the staff and players for the Tar Heels?
So the dead period ends temporarily, I think the last week of this month. I'd have to look to find the exact dates. And then resumes for all of August, basically because everyone's practicing high school and college.
The dead period resumes.
Yeah. So all of August is dead. And so for those few days or that almost week towards the end of July, you'll see a lot of barbecues, quote unquote. They're just recruiting events sort of thing to get guys back on campus. A lot of focus is going to be on the next class for that. Although you'll have some commits come, and then you'll also have, if you can, get some guys that you're really recruiting. But for the most part, for North Carolina, and the weekly scoop this week kind of breaks it down, kind of resets the board and kind of lays it out for you. A lot of guys will have their decisions made by the end of this summer. Just a couple are taking their recruitments into the season. And it's probably maybe UNC, well, probably at offensive line, UNC will expand the board a little bit. But beyond that, there's not going to be a whole lot of new names that emerge. So, and this is why when fans are like, oh, we're going to land this guy, we just need to win such and such games this season. Well, when most of your class is committed by the end, I mean, and we're talking about probably like 99% of UNC's class is going to be committed by the end of the summer. I would say, by September 1st.
Okay.
So
they'll have a couple visits in the late July.
Probably just one day of visits for North Carolina. They'll probably just pick one day.
Okay.
For like a barbecue sort of thing.
Okay, that's not set yet.
Yes and no.
Okay. And then dead in August, but people will be committing during August and committing, as the season starts.
Yeah,
okay.
and the guys who are committing in August, for the most part, they know what their decisions are. Some of them are choosing to commit on their birthdays. Some want to do it a significant day for their high school or whatever it may be, or whoever's birthday, that sort of thing. So you'll see a lot of that. And there's some guys who have not made decision plans but want to commit this summer. But I expect the majority of UNC's targets to be, almost all of them to be committed by September 1st.
Okay. All right, guys, let me talk to you a little about Johnny T-Shirt and johnnytshirt.com. We'll be right back with more of the scoop. We're going to talk a little conference realignment. I think that's a huge issue that Don and I haven't talked about. We're also going to have an interview with Jamaal Jarrett, so don't go anywhere. Big podcast, Jamaal Jarrett interview and some conference realignment talk. I have a lot of takes. But Johnny T-Shirt and johnnytshirt.com is your one-stop shop for everything that you need for UNC. The season is right around the corner. It's time to get those T-shirts, those jerseys, get sweatshirts for the fall, get all your tailgating gear, get decked out and ready for UNC football. Get your family shirts, get friend shirts. Hey, send a gift, send a surprise gift. People love that for no reason. Go Johnny T-Shirt, get some trinkets, something for the tailgate, something for the home, the office, and get it from Johnny T-Shirt and johnnytshirt.com. Remember, all Inside Carolina subscribers get 10% off their whole order by going to the tar pit of the UNC premium message boards, getting that promo code, then going to johnnytshirt.com or to the store on Franklin Street and using that code to get 10% off their order. Great stuff for all UNC fans. Get jerseys, shirts, T-shirts, hats. What else, Don? Give me something. Tailgating stuff. Get napkins, paper towel, anything you want. Johnny T-Shirt, johnnytshirt.com. All right, a couple national ads. I'll be right back with the Jamaal Jarrett interview and some conference realignment talk. All right, welcome back into the Scoop podcast on the Inside Carolina Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ross Martin, joined by Don Callahan. This is presented to you by Johnny T-Shirt and johnnytshirt.com. We have a very, very special guest. This is the first time we've had a non-committed prospect on the show. We've had committed prospects, but we have Jamaal Jarrett, class of 2023, defensive lineman. Just a little intro here, Jamaal, 6'6", 350, a rising senior at Grimsley High School in Greensboro, North Carolina. 24/7 Sports Composite 4-star, 176 in the nation, and the number 3 player in the state of North Carolina. All right, Jamaal, we appreciate it. I'm passing it over to Don for the first question. We'll get going here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I just want to continue that introduction a little bit. I was asked a couple of weeks ago on the message board my favorite recruits to cover. And Jamaal, I'm old. So I've been doing this for almost 20 years. So, of course, I listed some names, Mike Paulus, Michael Carter, Eric Ebron. But I also mentioned Jamaal Jarrett. So you are one of my favorite recruits to call. Always, as you guys will notice throughout this interview, Jamaal likes to have fun, good dude to talk to, fun to talk to, and all that. But you have a big day coming up next week.
Yes, sir.
So can you kind of set the stage on what the date is, what's going on, who are the finalists, what the plan is, all that sort of stuff for your announcement?
Yes, sir. So the planning part is really hard. We're pretty much just trying to get everybody out there. We're doing it next Tuesday at 6:30 at Jameson Stadium. So, man, I'm ready to get it over with. I narrowed it down to 3 schools. That's pretty much it.
So it's going to be, I guess, somewhat similar to what Travis Shaw did, right? As
Yes,
far
sir.
as, okay. Did you consult with him or his family, or has your family consulted with his family to kind of get an idea? Or was this, I guess, just kind of working with the Grimsley High coaching staff to kind of figure things out?
Pretty much just working with the coaches.
Okay. So I don't expect you to give us, we don't want the answer right now. I'm sure
Yes,
some
sir.
of the listeners probably do, but we don't want the answer. But how, in your mind, like what, I imagine you're at least leaning towards a school. What percentage would you say your mind is made up right now on that school?
Like about 95%.
95. Okay.
Locked in. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. So what's been the toughest part about the recruiting process? Don's told me you've loved it, you've enjoyed it. What's been the hardest thing to kind of narrow it down to the school and even get to the point where you have to make a decision?
Man, just the relationships you build, I feel are hard because like you're telling all these other programs that gave you a chance, like thank you, but no thank you, So it was really hard, like just letting them know that. But at the end of the day, you can only pick one school.
Yeah,
So,
I imagine like turning schools down after these coaches have been so nice to you and you built relationships with that family and all these coaches. That's got to be a challenge, Don.
Yeah. Along those lines, I don't know if we've actually laid it out there. You're down to Clemson. I'm sorry, you're down to Georgia,
Yes,
North Carolina, and Auburn. And what was interesting was that you actually planned on taking a bunch of additional official visits, including Clemson, which is why that was on my mind. I think Texas A&M was a school that you consider taking an official visit to. There was one other school. I can't remember who it was.
LSU.
LSU. Okay. So, but you basically kind of just slammed on the brakes in the middle of June and said, I'm done, going to make a decision down to these 3 schools. What happened to kind of get you to that point to just hit those brakes?
Well, I found home pretty much after the officials. I found the home, so I was just like ready to get back to my team and get ready for workouts for my senior season. So as far as the official visits, I was like, I'm done with it. I took 3 of them and enjoy and pick out of those 3.
When you went on these official visits, what were you looking to find out about that school? Because I imagine I know you've been to Carolina a good amount and potentially Georgia too, but what do you want to find out about that school on those visits?
So me really on those visits, I just wanted to I did my own research on each school, but I wanted to go in person and see everything that I researched, make sure it was true or not, and just see anything I missed. So it was really more of like a educational purpose on the visits. I just wanted to get as much info as I could out of each program before I left.
And what are you looking like? Every prospect's different. Like, what are you looking for in a school? Do you want something that develops you? Do you want the education? Do you want a strong relationship with the coaching staff or your defensive line coach? What are some of the priorities when you're making a decision?
Well, my overall goal is to make it to the NFL. So, of course, like you said, the development part, and I want to get a degree. So I need a good academic academic structure at the program. So this is really the only 2 things that I really focus on, and the home feeling part. I just want to feel comfortable at a program, be able to on my days off, go to the park or something, go shopping, something. I just want to feel like I'm at home, normal stuff I could do.
Gotcha. And one more here, Don. When a prospect's picking a school, do you look at the current roster? Do you look at how they're doing in terms of winning, losing? Like, how important is how they did last season or how they're selling you on the projection of the program to you? Because you can come there and help them win, or how does that kind of work in your mind?
So especially on these visits, you get to see the depth chart. You get to see everybody on ESPN roster, wherever you get to see them on your visits. You know exactly how many people are playing the same position as you. You know exactly who you have to compete with when you get in. And you build bonds with them. They give you tips and stuff too, even when they were recruits, what they noticed and what they didn't notice. and what questions they did and didn't ask. So on these visits, it's really cool just seeing that and hearing from the players. Of course, the depth chart, like you said, and everything else. Like that's it's big. It's a big thing. Most recruits look into when they go on these visits.
So Ross and I wanted to have a little more fun with this because you've answered a lot of these same questions 100 times, and you're probably, bored of answering them. But so the first, I guess, fun question I have for you was, and I kind of alluded to this a little bit, I think, before we started recording. On your official visits, they feed you a lot, regardless of the school. What was the one meal that you liked the most, and where was it at?
That's hard. Dang. Georgia had this fried shrimp thing. I forgot what it was called. It was like fried shrimp wrapped in like a cheese sauce or something. Mm-hmm. That junk right there was the best. But then again, UNC also had this sweet potato souffle thing. It tastes just like sweet potato pie. That was awesome, man. Okay. So it was really great, man.
Anything with cheese sauce is good.
Man, I'm telling you.
Like anything. How good is queso, Don? I mean, just dipping anything in queso.
Yeah, queso is awesome. The only thing with queso is you got to eat it quick. Because when it starts to kind of cool down, then it becomes, not as, a little bit harder to eat.
Congealed, yeah.
Congealed is a good, very good word.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. on these visits, I know you went to Mac Brown's house. I think we've asked another prospect this. What's Mac Brown's house like? What's going on there? What's the deal?
It's amazing, man. It's beautiful. It's huge. The pool area alone is just beautiful. Man, his game room is lit. His game room is lit, and he has a golf simulator room in there. Uh-huh. It's fun, man. It's like you can't be bored in there. Like you walk around, there's different things everywhere.
What did you spend the most time on when you were there? Like what game or, what were you doing the most?
Well, I was chilling in the game room for a little bit, but I was really at the pool for the longest. The pool was nice. Because it stays cold too.
Your visit was in June, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I guess.
No. It was May. Excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, late May.
But it was hot enough to get in the pool?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you a big pool guy?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What pool did you go to in Greensboro?
Hamilton Lakes, and also go to the one by my house.
Okay. Yeah. I know Hamilton Lakes. It's a big pool.
Yes, sir.
They have a high dive there.
Yes, sir.
The Hamilton Lake Hornets.
Yeah, I did some flips off of it plenty of times.
Are you serious? Yeah.
Are you doing some cannonballs? I imagine that 350 cannonballs would be pretty big splash there.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay. What about as far as, because I know that every school is try to do something unique during the official. We've heard about the North Carolina, for a couple of them, did the laser tag in Kenan Stadium. Which one of those? It doesn't have to necessarily be North Carolina. It could be Auburn, Georgia, whatever it may be. What was a cool sort of activity that probably wasn't football related that you really had a good time with?
Both Georgia and Auburn on my officials, we did axe throwing, which I've never did before. But it was
axe
fun.
Throwing. Okay.
So it was really fun, and it was very competitive. The coaches and the players, and even the parents were getting at it, man. Like it was very competitive. It was very fun.
Have you ever done axe throwing, Ross?
No. Oh, my fault.
Yeah, so it sounds like Jamaal had it, but I don't know if I don't know if I have. It's a very popular thing now, especially like going. I mean, I know you're 17, so you probably can't drink, Jamaal, but there's a lot of bars in the area that do like axe throw. It's like a big new bar thing. You go with friends and throw axes. All right, let's get into a little Travis Shaw talk here. What is your relationship like with him? And did he have a role in any, like, what role did he play in terms of your recruitment? I mean, obviously he would kind of want you to go to UNC, but like, did he give you advice? Did he give you any guidance? What's your relationship like with Travis Shaw?
It's pretty cool. It's not like the strongest. Like I don't really talk to him every day type of thing. But he came to my practice not too long ago. I was just talking some UNC in my head. He's like, "This is home. Close to home. The whole deal." And it's pretty much it. He's like, it was the best choice he ever made. And then again, he was like, "It's my choice as well." He was like, "Go wherever you feel is the best." But he believes UNC is home. So,
yeah. Some people don't realize that you actually started out your high school career at Smith High School and transferred in, I guess it was about a year ago, right? To Grimsley. And so what was that like when you first, because they just were coming off the state championship And they obviously have Travis there, a bunch of established players, quarterback there too. What was it like for you, kind of being the new guy on that roster?
They opened. I could say Grigsby opened up their arms and took me in as I was already part of the family. I got in there, learned quick, and played very quick. And I was like, we pretty much started up like everything was rocket fast. So as soon as I got in, I had to jump in and learn everything really fast. But it was pretty cool.
What was Travis like initially?
Just another teammate, another player, great player on the Grigsby football team.
Now, I know initially when we started hearing about your recruitment, and I talked to Don a lot, there was talk of you playing offensive line. Are you strictly defensive line now? Don would probably know this answer. I'm just going to ask you. Are you going to, can you play both? Where are you playing this year at Grigsby? What position?
I'm staying at the 3 technique and nose guard, so I'm staying at D tackle.
Okay, and they don't have you play two ways in high school,
sir.
So you're a defensive line for college too.
Yes, sir.
Do you like that better?
Yes, sir.
Why?
I feel like well, you can be aggressive on the offensive line as well, but I feel like defensive line you have more freedom and you can do more.
Yeah,
so, it's very competitive. I mean, offensive line and defensive line is competitive, but I feel like defensive line you have more freedom to even make mistakes. You still have a lot more freedom to do stuff.
Yeah, you make a mistake on O line, the quarterback gets sacked.
You're done for.
You make a mistake on D line, you just don't.
Exactly.
My bad. And with D line also, it's like see ball, get ball. I mean, there's like, especially in high school, it's probably like, all right, get the quarterback, get the running back. Yeah.
So I imagine you kind of hinted at this a little bit. You've established some relationships with guys at all 3 rosters. Is there one, maybe 2 guys that you're really close with and maybe you still text with or you still communicate with some degree on any of the schools, whether it's Auburn, Georgia, or North Carolina?
Well, Auburn, me and Anichi Sudge are really close, and Georgia, me and Christian Miller are really close. So, and Jordan Davis, like we talk every now and then now too. So, it's really crazy. Just the support from each program is really why they stayed out in my top 3.
Who's kind of like, I guess, your guy at North Carolina?
Man, it's a lot. We got Miles Murphy. We got Tamori Fox, Keyshawn Silver. Got a little bit from Travis, and we also got pretty much the whole D line room has really been communicating with me.
Who was your player host during the UNC official?
Tamori Fox.
Okay.
Yeah, I think UNC's D line is going to be pretty good this year, especially Miles Murphy's going to have a breakout year, and Keyshawn Silver, Javari Ritzy. So a lot of in-state guys stepping up this year. Do you think you're going to be nervous on Tuesday? Like, what do you think it's going to be like? I mean, it's a huge decision.
Yeah.
I mean, I will be kind of nervous, but I'm pretty much just getting my speech and stuff together, trying to watch as many commitment videos from the past.
Okay.
And, train myself, do flashcards with the questions. So I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. Do you have like a unique way of doing it?
Yeah. So I study all the questions and stuff from the videos on YouTube, from the CBS live commitment stuff. And I write them down on flashcards and just, study them, answer them to the best of my ability.
What about
that? Is the study habits of a Grigsby Whirly right there. Writing down study cards, going researching. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah. So what about from the standpoint of the actual announcement? Because we've seen guys do weird, different things with the hats and, Christian Hamilton. We've seen people pull out, speaking of Georgia, someone I think a long time ago pulled out an actual bulldog from underneath the table.
That's crazy.
Do you have because I don't want you to give that away because we want it to be a surprise to people who are watching. Do you have a plan in place for how you're going to actually present it?
So I'm probably decorate my table, have my middle school jerseys and stuff on the table.
Okay.
Middle school, high school, AAU teams, all those jerseys on the tables. And as far as the reveal, y'all gonna have to see it.
Okay, so there is gonna be something a little special for that.
A little bit.
Okay.
Don, you'll be there, right?
I will be there. I will be there.
I might not do no hat tricks or nothing like everybody else, but I mean, I might just keep it
So,
simple.
Okay, so you mean you're just going to go, because a lot of guys do go the no nonsense, let's just do this sort of thing.
Yep.
Especially because if you do something kind of crazy, that might be like throwing another hat. that fan base gets a little bit peeved at you.
Yeah.
We'll keep it simple, man.
I
Yeah.
think it's good to shed a little tear, get a little emotional, get a little emotional at the top. You know, you're thanking coaches, family, mom and dad, whatever. You know, shed a tear, and now it gets everybody kind of on board. And then you pick it, and then you get really emotional and talk about that school and stuff. I think that's the way to do it.
Is there going to be a family member that's going to cry that you think?
Probably my mom. My mom's the most emotional. So
Okay.
yeah,
Are you gonna have the family decked out in the color of the team you choose?
most likely.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's always cool, I think.
You know, I got show neutral, so I'll probably change after the announcement.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Jarrett, you got Jamaal, you got anything else, Don?
No, I'm just I'm really happy that he came on here. You know, he's the first one, as you mentioned, the first uncommitted guy to come on to the Scoop podcast. So appreciate that it was Jamaal. Jamaal spent some time with us today.
Yes, sir.
Especially because a lot of guys, they don't like to do a whole lot of talking. I mean, we're less than a week away. They don't want to do it because they're afraid that they might slip up, might say something that might, you know, because everything that you say is going to be dissected completely. So I appreciate your willingness to kind of come on and have some fun with us and chat with us.
Yes, sir. No problem.
All right, guys, appreciate Jamaal. And guys,
Yes,
definitely tune in to his announcement. I'm sure will be some sort of streaming option, whether it be on Inside Carolina's YouTube page or is it CBS HQ? Are they going to be there?
Yes, sir.
Do we know?
Okay. Good.
So yeah, because they were at Travis's as well. So CBS HQ, and then also we'll have all the links on Inside Carolina. We'll be right back with more of the scoop. Thanks, Jamaal, and we'll talk to you guys in a bit. All right, we're back. We just got Jamaal Jarrett off the Zoom call. Great interview with him. Again, he is announcing Tuesday. He told us 6:30 at Grigsby High School, a big-time 4-star prospect. In state that is choosing between Auburn, Georgia, and UNC. Don, quickly here, we're not going to take too much time on this, but what do you think of the interview? What do you think what he said that maybe was different than maybe what you expected in terms of his decision?
Yeah. So the preparation for the NFL thing kind of stuck out to me a little bit. Not that North Carolina, I mean, no matter what school, it has been proven over time. Whatever school you go to, if you are talented, the NFL is going to draft you. I mean, even if you're a D2 school, they're going to find you.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, Georgia does have that reputation, particularly with this past draft. If you look at what they did, and you know, maybe I'm just kind of trying to nitpick here and try to find something that might kind of tip the hat. A lot of people, you know, I've had him on my mock class the past all three. And a lot of that is just thinking that the local school, the school down the street sort of thing will win out. And I felt a little bit more comfortable with it, with the, you know, North Carolina being his most recent visit. But some of the other thing that stuck out to me is when I asked him the question about why he kind of slammed on the brakes, and he mentioned that he found home. As soon as he said that, I looked at his schedule. His first official visit was North Carolina, second Auburn, and then Georgia. And then it was around that time. The Georgia official visit was June 10th.
Is that when he stopped?
It was June 19th when he came out and said he had a final 3.
Uh-oh.
Could be just a coincidence. But,
yeah.
You know, I'm just trying to read a little bit into it. What's your take?
Well, now knowing that, it seemed like Georgia and UNC led all along. So he wanted to get the Georgia official in. He wanted to definitely do that because I'm sure it's of interest. Hey, he's wearing a Carolina blue shirt with a Jordan Brand logo on the interview. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that. Good catch.
Oh, are you serious?
No, I did not.
I about asked him about it. I mean, I think he'll be great wherever he goes. You know, as I'm a little biased here as a Grimsley alum and a guy who covers UNC. Seems like a good guy to cover.
Yeah, great kid.
But look, hey, I've always said, and this may, anger some loyal Inside Carolina subscribers, but like, dude, I mean, Georgia's a great school for football. I almost went there, not for football, but it's a good school. It's got everything that UNC has. It's a great college town. It's farther. Dude, it's so easy going from Greensboro to Chapel Hill. We've talked about this a lot. That is a easy, nice, quick drive. It's far enough where your mom's not there every day, but if you need to go home, do some laundry, home cooked meal, that's great. But Georgia is a great school and has obviously coming off national championship, great football at the highest level. And I don't know how many Jamaal, I keep calling him Jarrett. Jamaal is probably not thinking about this, but I think as kids will start thinking about the conference realignment stuff too. Like, do I want to play with this ACC that's not going to have enough money to compete, or am I going to want to play for the SEC or Big Ten where they are getting that TV money and they are secure for the future? Whereas, look, if this grant right stuff is as legit as it is, the ACC and some other schools, Big 12, Pac-10, may be screwed for the foreseeable future. So dicey Dave right there. That leads to our next conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it leads to our next conversation. No, I think you're right with everything you just said. Yeah, and and to be honest, I guess the person separate the journalist. He's a great kid, and I just hope he chooses whatever he feels best at. To be honest, and I don't think you can go wrong with either of the three. Although I guess Auburn does seem like a little bit of a dumpster fire with their coach situation and all that.
And it's farther away than Georgia.
Yeah.
If you're going to go to Auburn, you might as well go to Georgia. It's closer. And one thing about UNC, I think that's always a selling point for some of these top recruits is you can come in and play a little bit quicker than you could at probably Alabama or Georgia. Like Travis Shaw is going to have a chance to be maybe the second nose tackle this year, or at least in the rotation with the top three nose tackles or three techniques. So
the other thing too, from the in-state standpoint, and we've seen this with different guys, is that if you are if two guys are equal, one kid's, and we're talking about Georgia, one kid's from Georgia, one kid's from North Carolina, the kid from Georgia is going to get the advantage. And the same thing with North Carolina, only vice versa. If you have two kids from one out-of-state, one North Carolina, you're going to take care of the in-state kid. So that's the other thing.
In terms of what?
In terms of who are like Antonio Williams, I kind of talked to him a little bit about this when he went to Ohio State. Just he felt like he was constantly behind the eight ball, not necessarily because of what he was doing, but because things might be equal between him and another running back, but the other running back was from Ohio or was from an area that, and so I think that definitely plays a factor in decisions when they're close. I mean, obviously if someone is just clearly better than the other, then you play whoever's better. But I mean, I think of, Travis Shaw, for example, is going to be taken care of at North Carolina. And I think Jamaal Jarrett would be taken care of at North Carolina. Georgia, they're going to take care of them, but they're probably going to focus more on, their Georgia guy. The in-state guys are going to be a little more of a priority.
And I thought it was interesting, Jamaal mentioned Miles Murphy and Keyshawn Silver as some of the guys he's been talking to. Those are both big-time 4-star in-state recruits who probably exactly in his same position a couple of years ago.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, guys. We teased a little conference realignment talk. That is next. There's going to be a costume change. We recorded the Jamaal Jarrett interview on Thursday, July 14th, due some scheduling issues and having to getting Jamaal on board. But we recorded the first part and the last part of this podcast at the same time. So you'll see me at the beach with longer hair and a white shirt.
I didn't even notice your haircut.
And I just got it. And right now I'm wearing a black shirt, not at the beach, back in Chapel Hill with a haircut. So that's for those watching on YouTube. That's what happens. The magic of Zoom and YouTube. All right, Don, good stuff.
Good stuff. Glad we got the interview in.
Anything you want to say to me about what's going on tomorrow?
Good luck with I didn't know how much of this you wanted out there. Good luck with your surgery. Hopefully you're not pregnant.
Yeah, big time surgery tomorrow. So thoughts and prayers appreciated. All right. Conference realignment talk coming up next. Appreciate y'all listening. And we're back on the Scoop podcast. Don, I want to talk about conference realignment to close out this podcast. We haven't talked since then. Man, what was it? Maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, the news broke that UCLA and USC, Southern California, are leaving the Pac-12 and going to the Big Ten, expanding the Big Ten. And it seems like it's becoming two major conference powers. The SEC, which is geographically all in the South. They're adding Texas and Oklahoma. You have the Pac-12, which a couple years ago added Rutgers and Maryland. Now they add the two California schools. It's a huge hit to the Pac-12, and it leaves tons of questions about what happens to the Pac-12, happens to the Big 12, what happens with the ACC, and more importantly, for UNC fans. I'll probably listen to 6 to 7 podcasts about this. So I've been trying to get educated on it because it's so interesting. I actually really enjoy the topic. And then recently I listened to Buck Sanders. You know him? And
I think I do.
and then and Tommy Ashley and our beloved Greg Barnes on a special edition of the Inside Carolina podcast. They did a great job, I thought, of kind of breaking it down. I did listen to it on 1.5 speed, because
I've never done that for a podcast. Maybe because I don't.
Apple has 1.25 speed. I think I did 1.25 speed, and that's perfect if anybody on the podcast talks really slow. You can still hear everything, and it just, it speeds it all up. You're done in 5 more minutes,
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'd recommend that. But if people talk fast, I don't know, sometimes normal speed's good. Okay, Don, let's just get your initial thoughts, and then we'll the initial thoughts, and then we'll go to how it affects UNC. And look, this is loose. Whatever you want to say, your opinion. We can
Can I take my shirt off?
That's right. All right, go ahead.
So my initial thought is that everyone's trying to make predictions of what's going to happen next. And we just never learn from the past is that we can't predict this. No one that I know of, and I listen to a lot of different podcasts, but before it happened, nobody was talking about Southern Cal and UCLA going to the Big Ten. And prior to Oklahoma and Texas leaving for the SEC, no one was talking about that at all. So I feel like whatever the next move is going to be equally unpredictable. And I almost wonder, everyone's talking about these 2 power conferences. What if there becomes more of a consolidation and there becomes, 4 power conferences? Because, I was reading something just before this because I wasn't prepared for this to kind of do any sort of research, but I have been reading it like you.
Yeah.
And how the Big 12 is talking about, we're open for business. We're exploring, all these different options. What if the Pac-12 and what's left of it and the Big 12 come together?
Yeah.
And then the ACC expands. I know everybody is saying, oh, they can easily get out of this. I don't know. From what I've read,
the grant of rights.
The grant of rights. Yeah. I'm sorry. And from what I've read, it would be very difficult to get out of that. And so what might be a little bit more realistic idea is that the ACC expands somehow or another, and that we end up having 4 big conferences. That would actually make the tournament a lot easier because they've talked about automatic bids. If you have just 2, you don't need automatic bids. I don't know. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. One thing with that, I don't think expanding, unless the ACC can add Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I don't think from what I've listened to and just kind of makes sense. Expanding the ACC and adding like a West Virginia or, like maybe a Cincinnati or some, these are examples. Some school with not much significance is not going to help. All it's going to do is have less money spread out.
That's true.
Now Notre Dame would help because Notre Dame can now sell the contract and get more money from ESPN. Yeah. This is all about TV deals. So adding Notre Dame, I think, is the only thing the ACC can do to make more money for each school. The issue here is money. The SEC and the Big Ten.
It's TV. Yeah, it's money, but it's
TV
money. TV viewers. So that's pretty key to look at.
Yeah, and it's payments by the TV, by the ESPN deal, the Fox deal, whatever. Because the SEC and the Big 12 have these huge, massive TV deals, and the UNC is ACC and UNC are stuck with this old ESPN deal that lasts until 2036, the grant of rights that no one can get out of. I don't know much about it. I'm not a lawyer, but apparently it's super hard to get out of, and it's very, very expensive. So people who think that Clemson and Florida State and Miami can just leave next year or whatever, I think it's super expensive, like hundreds of millions of dollars to get out of it. So that's why I think, look, it sounds great to have Miami and Clemson and Florida State go to the SEC, and then UNC, Virginia, and Duke go to the Big Ten or something like that. These examples. But I think the legal consequences with the grant of rights is massive. So I've heard this is just a crazy thing, but one thing that could happen, you have to have 8 schools leave to dissolve the ACC where there's nothing there anymore. So 4 went to the SEC, 4 went to the Big Ten. That's a possibility. But I think the grant of rights is going to keep this thing together for at least, a significant amount of more years. And then when it gets closer to 2036, that's when teams could leave. So it's dicey, man. And from a personal standpoint, I think it just sucks that we're losing these regional conferences. And I know it sucks, but I know it's inevitable. But I loved having, back when the ACC was 9 teams when I grew up. I grew up all around college sports. I grew up in Greensboro, the home of the ACC. I, went to Wake Forest basketball camp, Duke. I went to Duke lacrosse camp. UNC basketball camp. Never went to anything state. Not a big state guy, but the regional.
I took a crap in Carter Finley once.
I've been to Carter Finley. Really nice people over there at Carter Finley. The ACC, its regional rivalries is what makes college football and college basketball so great. The Big Ten rivalries is what makes it so great. The SEC is still regional conference. They're getting bigger, but you have those rivalries. You have those. Each state has a big school. The Pac-12, I'm not exactly sure what's like out there, but in the Big East was great. Big East had great basketball rivalries. That's kind of been dissolved as well. So we're going to lose that, and that's just the nature of the beast, and you have to accept that and figure out. And like Buck said in his column, you got to find out where the money is, and you can't wait around and try to keep the ACC together. I agree with that. It's just different, man. You're going to potentially have later on, maybe in 5-10 years, you have these 25 or 10 team conferences. Sorry, 20 or 25 team conferences where you play Alabama or something once every 10 years.
Yeah.
But hopefully some of these rivalries will stay. But I think it's be tough to have NC State, Wake, and Duke play each other, and Carolina play each other, because I think it's going to be. I think teams like Wake Forest, Boston College can be left because Boston College, they have to have such a small department stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the Maryland to Big Ten thing still bothers me a little bit with the ACC. And I didn't grow up in ACC country, but I just always, I still, when I see Maryland, I see ACC.
Mm-hmm.
And I was even writing a story recently, and I accidentally, before I published it, because Lord knows it would have been caught by one of the subscribers, I called Maryland an ACC school. The thing too, I want to just backtrack a little bit what you said earlier. I think it needs to be pointed out the timing for USC and UCLA is because their TV deal is coming up.
Yeah.
And the same thing now, if you look at just how difficult these grant of rights are, Texas and Oklahoma have to wait or are waiting. They're not coming for a couple of seasons because of the grant of rights situation. I really think that grant of rights is going to make it difficult for the ACC. And I mean,
it could be a good thing and keeping it together. They're just getting behind financially, so they're gonna have to figure out a way to make more money somehow.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm like you. I'm really curious to see how this goes. I was one of those ones back when I played NCAA football on the PlayStation, and when you can actually change the conferences around, I definitely would mess with that. But by the way, I know you're not a video game guy. The new NCAA is supposed to come out next summer.
Yeah.
I haven't played video games I think since I got married. So I have a decision to make because I think I might end up purchasing it. So we'll see.
But anyway, another addition to the man cave.
What about? I think you want to talk about just how some of this stuff affects North Carolina, right?
Yeah. And again, I would definitely suggest listening to Buck, Greg, and Tommy. Yeah. So I think UNC, like they've said, is an extremely attractive school for multiple reasons. And so I think when that time comes, the SEC would want them. I think the Big Ten would want them because look, the academic reputation is one reason. The Jordan brand and the UNC is a national and even international brand. There's a color named after it, Carolina blue. The intertwined NC is a nationally recognized symbol. And then the success of its basketball program makes it a national and a very desirable athletic department. So I think they're going to be fine, but I just don't know if they'll be left behind with some of the other ACC schools because of the grant of rights deal. But look, like I said, I would not want to be a Wake Forest fan or a Boston College fan, or even kind of a Pittsburgh, Syracuse type deal. And one thing with UNC is the football is just not. Look, if they went to the SEC, they get killed by Georgia, Alabama. But they would be on a similar playing field. Which who knows if UNC is in the SEC and getting that money. Look, they could say, look, we're the SEC now. You don't have to go to Georgia or Alabama or Tennessee to play big time football. You can stay in North Carolina, play for your home school. And so maybe that does raise the profile and you expect it would.
Yeah, from UNC's perspective, I obviously look at it from a recruiting standpoint.
Yeah.
Someone asked me this question on the Ask Don thread a couple of days ago. And, a lot of it depends on who else goes where. Mm-hmm. But I think for the most part, I have a hard time seeing a whole lot of difference and what would happen with North Carolina, because I think the recruiting footprint, unless something crazy happens with transportation, because we're talking, if we're talking UNC has to wait until 2036, so who knows, we could be on
we could be flying cars.
Flying cars. So maybe that
Yeah.
changes. But if barring that, then or even just self-driving cars, I think would make things a lot easier to travel, right?
That already exists. That already exists.
That does, but it's not usable to the degree that we can use it. But anyway, North Carolina is still going to recruit within that certain radius. I think Mac Brown has mentioned from DC to Atlanta. So I don't think it opens that up. And UNC is already competing against SEC schools regularly for recruits.
Mhm.
Now, does it level the playing field? I think it depends on the situation. I don't think it would level. I don't think North Carolina is going to be able to get kids out of Georgia over Georgia, if UNC is in the SEC. Does it help against South Carolina?
Yeah.
Maybe not in South Carolina, but maybe in North Carolina. But still, North Carolina wins. I mean, I think that they've had some good recruiting battles. Now, if NC State gets left in the dust and doesn't have one of the two major conferences at home, then yeah, UNC. I mean, but UNC historically, UNC wins most recruiting battles over NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Virginia Tech. I mean, so I don't see a whole lot of difference. What I'm curious about is, let's say that there's a Big Ten move. What does that do? Because I think what you can sell is maybe you do expand a little bit more to Pennsylvania and recruit more. They already recruit Maryland, but recruit more in Maryland and say, hey, you can still play in the Big Ten. Your family can see you play up and down the East Coast, but you can play in better weather. So there is that. That would be interesting to me. And then also to see, do more Big Ten schools come into North Carolina or Virginia to recruit?
Yeah.
But that there goes the distance thing. That's still one of the major factors when it comes to recruiting. That's not changing.
Yeah.
So,
and I said that UNC would get killed in the SEC, and that maybe was a little aggressive. Look, they're not going to beat Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M, Georgia, Auburn every year, but they can compete with South Carolina, Tennessee. They have Auburn, Texas A&M. That'd be tough as they get stronger. But look, Arkansas, those schools all have down years. Like Tennessee has sucked the last 10 years. Seriously, Tennessee sucked the last 10 years. They lose to slop schools. So UNC.
What's a slop school? Let me get a list of slop schools.
Like non-power 5, just some no-name directional school that comes in there and beats Tennessee.
I thought you were going to make some call-outs.
No. So look, I think, and look, UNC's competed with Clemson and Florida State, and they haven't come out on the winning side as much as I think they would like in some of those recent games. But UNC will be fine. It's a dice situation. I think it's interesting to see what State will do, and the fact that State and UNC are both public schools in the state of North Carolina, the impact of the state legislator on that. Like if Carolina was to leave, go to the SEC, like would the legislator let them do that without bringing NC State with them? Because look, NC State's a big school too, and they have a lot of alums.
What about Duke too?
Like Duke,
I mean, I know it's a private school.
Duke football is so bad,
but the basketball.
Yeah, and it's a national brand. It's definitely a national brand. The academics are attractive too. It's like a Vanderbilt or Northwestern, and Big Ten and the SEC both have.
And it's on UNC and Duke basketball is just on a completely different level. Rivalry and I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know that the ESPN numbers when those games are on ESPN are just off the charts. So that's something that's appealing. How does that factor in? I'm not saying it means Duke has to come, but how does that factor in?
Yeah, you would think if Duke didn't join the same conference as UNC, they would have. It'd be weird, but they'd have like a Duke UNC game in like early December. Same with State,
But then you lose that. I think in early December, I think you lose the rivalry.
Yeah. So who knows? There's a lot of factors, like we stated, and it's very confusing. And it's interesting. And it's kind of interesting to talk about. I think Virginia Tech is another one. Virginia, big schools with big fan bases, but not. I don't know if Virginia, is at that same level as some of these other schools that are being talked about.
Yeah. The only thing is if this is truly about television numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at who's left over, who's not in the Big Ten or the SEC, I mean, I don't know if I see a whole lot of television. I mean, Clemson does sometimes, but I mean, who brings the huge? I'm talking about huge television numbers. I don't know if I see a whole lot of that, regardless of what school. And so and I think that factors in on decisions on what these conferences do, because like you said, the bigger the conference, the lesser the payout for each of their members. So if you bring someone in, that they're going to have to increase their value is going to have to increase the payout so much that it won't be that big of a deal bringing them in and strengthening the payout.
A lot to talk about. I think it'll be something we talk about down the line, but look, it may not happen until years from now. We got a little breaking news here. You ready?
Uh-oh.
For ACC Media Day next week, UNC is bringing head coach Mac Brown, running back British Brooks from Gastonia, wide receiver Josh Downs, and defensive tackle Ray Vohasek. So those are your 3 players, and obviously your head coach for the ACC Media Day next week in Charlotte over Wednesday and Thursday. All right, we good, Don?
We're good. We're good.
All right, big podcast, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the discussion on UNC's commitments, the Jamaal Jarrett interview, and a little kind of free and loose conversation about conference realignment.
We're gonna have some more free and loose conversations coming up, right?
There we go. Yeah. We might see you in 2 weeks, I think. Again,
probably
things are slowing down, but we'll try to get you a show every other week now until the season starts. We'll definitely have more UNC football team stuff as training camp starts. I do think we just need to ramp that up. Since this is like my only podcast, it's a good chance for us to discuss UNC football as well as recruiting.
Did they kick you off again?
I've been kicked off, but maybe back on. We had some staff changes here. Gregory Hall has left the company, so there might be some holes here and there. Yeah, well, I think everybody knows that. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Giant T-shirt, giantt.com. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe this podcast wherever you listen to it. And again, follow us on the YouTube page. For Don Callahan, I'm Ross Martin.